Good afternoon, welcome to another episode of Try Bonsai. It's your boy Bana, and as you can see, a nice sun on the side. Say hi, Zai.
Hello.
And today, my friends, what we're going to do, we're going to look at my Fusion Ficus trees and do a bit of work to the branches, pruning it back to start creating something of that kind of a shape that we want. Now, I contemplated defoliating this tree, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. But in the interim, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start to prune back, because what we have happening is some very thick branches growing quite long. And what ideally we want is proper ramification. And to create that, I need to prune it back, and I need to ensure that light gets into the entirety of the tree, because we have one or two dead twigs in some spaces where light not get into. Yeah? So, that is the happenings. So, all you know the happening. All you know what it is. Let me just go. So, my friends, as I was saying, I'm going to prune back, and there are some dead twigs that I need to remove. And I'm really wondering about the defoliation of this this tree, you know, and I think I probably should defoliate it, if that would help increase some of the ramification that I'm going to get, you know. So right now, as it stands, I'm pruning away some dead twigs from all different parts. And I have my son, as well. I realize I have my son here. Hopefully one day he might take to doing bonsai himself. You never know. At least I'm exposing him to it. Oh my. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at each individual trunk, do a defoliation, and when we come back, we're going to look at pruning. Yeah? All right. So I pruned some really very strong branches, like this one and this one here, this next branch here, and then we have these respectively. And know that when I did that, it made the defoliation tons easier, quite a bit easier. And as you can see here, I have an aerial root, but it's growing from such a weird spot, and it come over and coming down. I don't know. Anyways, so now that this tree has been defoliated, what we're going to do quickly is go through and do some branch selection, removing the branches that we don't want, hopefully the correct ones. Not trying to mess this up too much. And then we're going to move on to the other Fusion Ficus that I have. Yeah? So, quick work. Let me just go. Okay. So, looking at this fellow here, coming up. Now, ideally, what I would like to create, the fusion comes up, and it creates this canopy that overlaps like a real umbrella, you know. So ideally I want everything fanning out, and then that drooping effect. I would love to create that drooping effect. And if I could get some aerial roots in this, it would be nice. So what I am attempting to do, my friends, is to pick the right branches so that eventually I will get the branch ramification that I want and the creation of that umbrella drooping style with this particular ficus. So let me see how that goes. So I'm going to do some branch selection and do some reduction on some of these shoots because they're extending a bit long, or they are in a place where I don't really want them. So taking for example this that comes up here, there's a branch that shoots off here, which is a bit long and it's shooting up in the sky, way up in the sky. So we're going to pick a shoot that is going outward and eventually coming down. As a matter of fact, I am thinking that I could bring this back just a bit so that the fine branching is more prominent on the outside rather than these very thick branches. So I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to bring this back to there, to that point. And bringing this back, this is pruned nicely, cutting back this to that point here. And I have, as you could see, 1, 2, 3, 4 branches all around the same spot, inclusive of some dead things. So I'm going to remove the dead bits, remove the stuff that's sticking up in the air, because ideally I don't want anything sticking up in the air per se. And this is another dead branch, bringing this back down to here. And I'm thinking I should bring this quite back. There's a leaf node. I'm looking for a node. And that kind of flattens, flattens this out. So this has a nice flattened type of situation happening here. Now I have a branch coming up here, turn so you could see it. So as you could see, I have this coming out, which gives you a swooping branch, but I have this straight branch coming out from this point, shooting for the skies. And I don't particularly want this shooting for the skies, although there's a branch swooping down at this point. I think I'm going to reduce this to a node that is going so I reduce this to this point here. I'm leaving this here. Hopefully this doesn't die, although this is the much stronger branch. I don't know if this will survive, but in time we will see. If it doesn't survive, at least we have this stronger branch here that we could develop in time. Yeah. So we're moving on to the next trunk, which is this fellow here. And from this trunk, we have this coming under here. I have this fellow here, this very strong fellow here, and one in the back here. Now, as I said, I reduced a lot of these, but I'm going to reduce them a bit more because you don't cut back, as far as I understand, you don't cut back to exactly where you want. You cut a little further back when you're in the development stage so that you develop what you want to get. Right, so I'm going to bring this back, reducing the vigor of this very strong, very strong branch. And I think I have a node under here, so I'm going to reduce it a little bit more, hoping for something a bit better. And even if nothing develops from here, I have this branch here that has a pretty decent node coming out this way. So for this fellow here, that I don't want to take this fellow off, you know, he is not going directly back into the center. He is coming at a decentish angle outward. Right? Now the contemplation is this fellow growing out here and this trunk down to the bottom here. I could remove this, giving way for a little bit of light to come to this guy, which I think is the best bet, you know. I think that is the best bet. So it gives a better opening for this guy down to the bottom here to develop. Right? So I already clean up this cut point here. So I've already made some cuts to this, and I'm comfortable with this as it were. Right now, moving on to this guy who has some really strong fellas coming out. I'm going to cut back to here. Removing this from directly under. Now, I could remove this, opting for these little guys, but these little guys under here may not survive. What I will do is reduce the length of these, decreasing the vigor to something outward facing. So this is what I am left with after pruning and defoliating. And I cut back. I did some directional pruning. Hopefully I cut back enough so that we could start really and truly developing this tree as we go into the future. I have high hopes for it. I have a bit of cleaning up to do on some cut points, but all in all, I'm comfortable with this, and we could move on to the next tree. Yeah? All right, my friends. So this is the second ficus, and I do apologize about the slanted table, but this is the second fusion ficus that I created a couple years ago. You know, the other one was created a couple years ago as well, both somewhere around the same time. And this has grown quite nicely with some aerial roots. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to do some reduction to the branches and possibly some defoliation to have a better look at the branch structure so that I could make some choices. So I'm not going to say too much. It's the same operation I'm going to do. I'm just going to get to it because we don't want to be out here when the place getting dark. I already had to change my pants to put on a long pants because we are into the rainy season. We into mosquito haven. I ain't playing them games this hour. So let me get to a quick fast and then a hot hot.
Sweeter than honey,